So I'm Ziebis. I'm 31 years old, originally from Miami, Florida, but Colorado native. I grew up here, so yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Hey, bro. Well, I appreciate you being here. And so, yeah, let's just hop right into this thing, man.
Yeah.
So, Kurt, talk about a time or a moment in your life where you've struggled through adversity in silence, where you just felt alone and by yourself.
Yeah. One time in my life sticks in my mind. I was, I believe, 19, 20 years old, around there, up in college, and I'd been dating this girl for a while. She's actually like my first love ever in life, and we'd been together for a while, and that relationship started to slowly crumble, and then next thing you know, like, we weren't together anymore, and like I took that super hard, and just kind of shut myself out from a lot of people, from family, from friends, and yeah, I mean, that was, looking back, like, that was like a super dark time in my life. I wasn't like the happy-go-lucky guy I usually am, and that period of time lasted well over a year. The effects lingered years after that, but like, that was something else. I mean, things are obviously like a lot better now, but that was a time in life where I was in college. I was transitioning from being an adolescent teen into more of a man, and all these thoughts go through your head, and yeah, man, like, it was just absolutely, it was crazy time.
Yeah. So, in that moment, obviously, you say you shut people out.
Yeah.
And for that specific example, do you find yourself like doing that frequently when you're going through things, like kind of shutting people out and like being isolated, with
Right.
your thoughts more so?
Not anymore. I think that time of life was the most concentrated kind of dose of me shutting people out. I don't do that anymore, though. I've learned to cope with things in a much healthier and better way, I believe.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Are there times or moments where you do feel alone? You may not shut people out, but like, do you feel alone at times, like mentally and emotionally?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, yeah, definitely. But not when those moments come. It's very brief, because like, we're people, and everybody goes through their own things, and we don't want, like, sometimes we feel like we don't want to burden others with our own burdens, and so we kind of do the self-sabotage of just shutting ourselves out when there are other people out there to help us out, or at least lend a listening ear.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we all experience the same human emotion, and so there are times where there are still times where I feel lonely, or by myself, but it's super brief, and I think I've learned to get rid of those negative thoughts that linger, whereas before I would have lingered on it a lot longer.
Right. So in those few moments where you do kind of feel alone or isolated, what do you need that makes or helps you feel like less alone in those moments?
The two things that come to mind for me are God and community. Community is a big one. Like I said before, we tend to not. People tend not to tell people their issues because they don't want to burden other people with the weight, the heaviness of issues. But something that pops into my mind is, like, I'm not here to preach or anything, but like, there's a verse in the Bible. It's Galatians 6:2. It says, "Bear ye one another's burdens." And like, that's a call for community to support one another, to lift one another up, and even if you can't lift, at least to hold one another up.
Right.
So definitely community. Me personally, like, I found a really good church I'm a part of. I mean, outside of the religious community, I have really great friends. wonderful mentors that I've known for, gosh, over a decade now. And obviously family, and my dad's super important to me. I tell my dad a lot of personal things. It wasn't always like that, but I think as I've grown up to be more of a man, I'm a little less embarrassed at the things that have happened to me. Just because I realize, we're all human, nobody's perfect. We've all gone through stuff, and yeah, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say nobody's situation is unique, but the experiences we all feel, heartbreak, sorrow, depression, loneliness, anxiety, that's not unique to anybody. People have been dealing with that for thousands of years, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I know you originally talked about, dealing with your breakup, and that was very dark and depressing time for you.
Yeah.
And anxiety and depression are, very common, two most common, mental health things that people go through. Do you find yourself still dealing with either, or any type of, issue, whether it be anxiety or depression?
Right. I wouldn't say, not to a large extent. Like I said before, those feelings come up from time to time. It's very few and far between, especially comparative to a lot of what I see out in the world. It seems to be an endemic of depression and anxiety out there. And I have my own thoughts on that, and my own diagnosis and prognosis for it all and everything. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, not too much, but I still experience it here and there. I'm not immune to it.
Right.
I don't think anybody is.
Yeah. So in those times that you do experience it, how does that affect you on a daily basis?
Gosh, I would say the worst it probably would affect me is I'll just get super complacent for the day. I'll get lazy, no motivation to do anything. I'll probably stay in and not do the things I'm supposed to be doing, working out, working on my business, things of that nature. But for the most part, I just keep to myself when that happens, and bunker down, watch a movie, hopefully laugh at something. I try not to watch any horror flicks when I'm in that mood or anything. It's usually Adam Sandler, funny flicks, comedic flicks, just like that. So it's just usually a lot of self-isolation when that happens, few and far between.
Okay, I got you. And I know you mentioned before, you said you sometimes don't like to be feel like a burden
Mm-hmm.
on others when things come up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find it hard for you to reach out to others when you do need help mentally and emotionally?
I used to find it hard. Now I don't. And I think the reason that is because a ton of people come to me for their issues and their help, and a lot of the times they just want to vent. They're not really specifically looking for a solution, and so they just want to talk to somebody, and they want somebody to listen to them, and then at the end of the conversation they feel so much better. And so with that happening to me repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again, it kind of taught me hey, if I'm willing, if I feel good about at least listening to this person, I'm sure there's people out there that'll feel good about listening to me. And so I took that, and it's still kind of, I still kind of don't want to bother people with my issues, but I'm a lot more open to it now. Not to bother them, but I'm a lot more open to reaching out and saying hey, can I talk to you? Hey, I'm going through some stuff. You available tonight to talk? Something like that.
Right. So in saying that, what type of effect do you think people reaching out to one another could have on someone's mental and emotional state of mind?
Oh, a huge effect. I think it's on an extreme end, I think it can be the difference between life and death. I feel a lot of people who go through specifically anxiety and depression on an extreme scale, maybe people who are thinking about, ending their life, I feel like a lot of them don't feel as if people want to listen to them. So, if there was at least one person that they could reach out to, that they can look to and be like, hey, like, I want to reach out to you, that can be a huge difference for them. So on an extreme end, like I think it's like a life and death matter. And, on the other end of the spectrum, I think it's just the difference between having a really crappy day and having your day be a little bit brighter.
Yeah, I totally agree. Do you personally think you could be better at reaching out to people that you care about?
Absolutely. I try to. I try to be really good at it, be conscious of it in the first place, but I don't think I'm the world's exemplar when it comes to that. So I can definitely improve in that area.
Word. So obviously, like, we're all human, we're all busy, we're all adults, most of us. But is there somebody you've been meaning to reach out to and you just get sidetracked, or you forget about it, like, and you're like, oh yeah, I need to call them or whatever. Like, is there a name that pops in your head?
Yeah, there is a name.
Want to call him right now?
Oh, shoot. My phone's over there.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, to make it even more awkward, you want to put it on speaker?
Yeah. It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to this person in a long time.
All right. You can leave them a voicemail if they don't answer.
Please leave your message for 720-681-4790.
Hey bro, it's Kurt. I know we haven't spoken in quite a long time, but I was just thinking about you. Your name just got popped up into my head, and would love to reconnect and say hey and just see how you're doing and catch up with you. Hope to hear back from you, buddy. All right, bye.
Love it. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap things up, is there kind of any final thoughts you would like to say just on the subject of checking on one another, anxiety, depression, just being together, love, anything?
Yeah, I guess there is. It's a two-parter. So the first thing I'll say is, if there's anybody that's going through that kind of stuff, anxiety, depression, you have a responsibility to yourself. And that means, like, taking care of yourself, like, even if it's tough, even if it's hard. And that might be hard to hear as you're going through the struggle. But the fact of the matter is, you know you best. You know your most intimate thoughts, your most intimate feelings. And as much as you want people to care, which they do, you got to understand that, like, you have to reach out and you have to let people know what's going on with you. It's just like in relationships, like the whole classic, girl gets mad at guy's like, I can't read your mind. Same thing with friends. I mean, people can tell what's up for the most part, but a lot of times people don't really know what's up. They just know that you're off. But you can't rely on that for people to, like, come and cuddle you and kind of help you out just like out of the blue. That might happen, but it might not. And I wouldn't leave it to chance. So if you're going through that, reach out and help out. On the other end, if you're a friend and you see one of your friends or family members or loved ones going through that, be a friend. Be there. Put your arm around them. Say, hey, what's going on? You okay? I notice you're not your chipper self usually. Anything you want to talk about. A lot of times people who are going through that, they just need the door opened, just a crack, just so they can come through and let it all out and, let everybody know what's going on. So definitely a two-way street, and we all have a part to play.
Yeah, I love it. Kurt, appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
And we're wraps.